How many of those videos have you seen online of like just a guy or a girl with an acoustic guitar on a street corner? They're
Yeah.
playing by themselves and people come
It's
up
exactly.
and they're like, "Oh, what is this? There's
With
this one."
stand-up, people start walking away.
They're like, "Who is this maniac?"
So we have to be like, hey, come here. It's like...
All right, this is the show where we talk about comedy and music with my funny friends, and we turn it all the way up to 10. This is Comedy on 11. I'm Thom Tran. I am here with my very good friend and special guest, Francisco Ramos. How are you, sir?
I am good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Listen to your awesome house and
Thank you.
studio and everything, man. This is great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming over. So, would you say you're a musical person?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm very musical. I love music. Ever since I was little, I was actually talking to my friends the other day about when we went to this thing for the birthday.
Yeah.
For Jack, I was saying
Yeah.
like when
You
he
were
had
back
the
there
DJ.
DJing.
Like I that was like my thing when I was back in like high school and college. When we did parties, I was the one that would put the music or DJ, and I did a little DJing
Right.
like a while back.
Okay, cool.
Because not that I just like putting music, good music, making people especially the thing of like when there's a party and you're like, oh, I gotta put this music, and everybody goes into it, So ever since I was growing up, I love music, and when I write scripts or stuff like that or anything like that, I have very music in. I'm like, oh, this scene could work with this music, kind of
Right.
stuff like that. Kind of
So-
like what Scorsese does. Kind of thing.
So you actively think about how music affects your art.
Yes, 100%. Every time I post, even do a little sketch or even like a flyer, to promote our shows, I'm like, which song is for this? I'm always like, I don't just put a song just to
Right.
put it. I'm like, what says it? What mood I am in? What vibe does this give or something like that? Yeah.
And Venezuelan,
Yes.
being of a Latino culture, music is a huge part of your
Yeah,
culture,
yeah,
correct?
100%. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with me and my parents love music. They always were listening, loudly their music all throughout it, whenever we're, growing up. So yeah, and yes, and obviously Venezuelan culture and Latino culture in general is all, very musical. You're always you're always listening to music, putting music. When you go to parties, it's always music, and it's always very lively,
Oh, describe your musical taste in one word.
I think universal. I mean, I definitely like a little everything. I'm not. It depends a lot on the mood that I'm in. It depends on what I feel like listening. I don't have like one style or type of music that I listen to every time. Like I can go from sometimes I wanna, hear rock, or sometimes I wanna hear reggae, or sometimes I wanna hear salsa, or sometimes I wanna hear some heavy rock, So it's like it just depends on
Right.
what the mood is. Yeah.
So do you use music to like amp up certain parts of your life? Like we work out at the same gym.
Yes, yeah. Actually, yeah, sometimes it's funny, yeah. Like sometimes I use, because when I go to the gym, I work out, sometimes I'm working, so I'm thinking about stuff. But when I put music that I'm like, oh, I need to put music that like for example, I've been listening to like the new Linkin Park,
Okay.
and that gives me like a good like pump. Like I'm like, all right, when I get it, it gives me energy to pump.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, for sure, something like that.
Do you ever listen to something at the gym where you think to yourself, man, if these people knew what I was actually listening to?
Well, I think pretty much it's always when I'm not listening to. I just put my things on. I'm not listening to anything, but
Right.
I'm just going I'm like they think I'm listening.
You just
but
don't
I'm
want
like,
people to bother you.
Yeah, or just want to listen to what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean like.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I'm kind of like a little spy there, but yeah. Sometimes I'm listening to like. Sometimes even not music. Sometimes even maybe a book or something. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like something like an audio book or something. But it's like sometimes I'm just. It doesn't. People. I think what you give out. It's kind of like what people say. Like they think of you and see you something and like, oh, they're listening to this, and then if you actually would know,
Right.
they're like, oh yeah, it's completely different to what you expected. Yeah.
Do you have a guilty pleasure workout song?
You know what? I guess I gotta say sometimes I put I'll do a little Backstreet Boys.
Okay.
That's
That's the second time Backstreet Boys has been mentioned
Oh,
on this
really?
show.
Hilarious. I wanted that away,
And
sometimes.
that's the song.
Of course. I mean, that's the one that I think. I mean, that's the one I know. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's one of my go-to ones too for karaoke.
All right. Oh, I was
Yeah.
going to ask that song later. That's usually our
Really?
last question.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Backstreet
I got
Boys.
some other ones, but like
Okay.
that one is one. Yeah.
All right. Do you have a current walk-on song?
walk on.
Like at the club.
Okay. To go. Okay, I thought it's like walking on the street. I was like,
John Travolta,
yeah.
like da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
It varies right now. Like I guess because the new Bad Bunny album came out, so I'm using one of his songs. It's called Baile Inolvidable, which is like he had a good. I think his album is really good because he used a lot of like old school sounds, especially with like salsa and stuff like that. You know, that. So I have one. So that song right now is the one I'm using.
Why is it that one? Is it the beat,
It's
the
just
rhythm?
yeah, it's just a little beat. It just gives you like, it just starts fun, and I can, and also for me like I can know since I know how to dance salsa well, so like I can use it to kind of like get people to like, you know, a little more like,
Right.
you know, I'm like do a little, you have fun with them and then start the show kind of thing. Yeah.
So do you think it's important for comics to have a walk-on song? Because there are clubs that don't have music. And
I think, I mean, it depends. To me, it's like, depends on the show. If you're headlining, it's your show.
Right.
People come in to see you.
Yeah.
I think so. Yes, I think it does. And you need it. Even if it's, because sometimes, I don't care even like, hey, if they didn't ask you for the music, but at least put some kind of music. You know what I mean?
Right.
But sometimes they don't put any music,
on
and that's
quiet.
that's just, to me, that gives, even for like, even if you're not headlining, but I think especially if you're headlining, I think it's good just to give that whole like kind of like star show, like quality show, like
Right.
I came to see a show. It's like when we go see a concert, you know, you don't go and like they just start right away. They go,
yeah.
you know, there's something like it's fun. It's like a beginning thing. So I think definitely just to kind of get pumped up the crowd, I think it's good. I think for me, like if you ask me, like if we're doing like I don't know spot. That we're just doing a spot, and somebody asked me, hey, and sometimes we get asked, it's like, you need a song? And I'm like, for those, I don't care. I'm like, put whatever, put a song, but put whatever. I don't.
Right.
But when it's your headlining, I do like, hey, pick the one that you want, whatever you're feeling, and then go, yeah.
okay, so in general, like unless you're, you know, doing a longer spot, you're headlining, you don't really care if
I think it's like, I don't even ask. I think the club or or whoever's doing the show should have any music. Sometimes they do those shows where they don't put any music, and it's kind of like, it's weird. It's weird.
It's part of the presentation.
Exactly. It's just especially because, you know, if I'm hosting, I go like, all right, I guess give it up for Thom Tran, you know, and then you're coming, and it's like it takes a little bit, and then it's like it's all quiet. It's so weird. You know what I mean? Like have some music or something to like. That's kind of like fill the dead space.
Yeah.
Very much. Yeah.
Do you ever? God, I hate those shows where like you're at a big club like the Long Beach Laugh Factory, and you're hosting, and you see like I hate this because we can see the comic
Yeah.
over way in the back.
Yeah, exactly. That's
And I'm
exactly
like-
what I'm talking about. And it's a big walk,
It's a
even if you're close, it's a still long walk to
It's
get
like
to the
50
stage.
yards.
Yeah.
I've measured it.
Yeah.
And then you're waiting for them, and the music's just going.
I know.
And you're like, hey, man,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
leave the stage
Yeah.
until you get up here.
I know.
So hurry your ass
And that's
up.
actually a club. Sometimes they put some songs that I'm like, I don't think that's. I mean, like it's because I don't know if you get sometimes they play some song that you're like, well, that's not me at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or it's like, so I think those, which is sometimes a good way to start a set because you can always like joke
Riff
about
on
it.
that.
Yeah, be like, well, it's like, why'd you put this on, or why this is not me, or whatever, you know. But like sometimes they give you those songs that are like, well, this is not me at all, you know.
What's the most inappropriate song you've been brought up to? Like the
Wow.
DJ is like, hey, what do you want? You're like, I don't give a shit.
I think, well, it's a lot of when, you know, if you hear like any hip hop songs and they're playing the part where they say the N word or something like that, you know, and I'm like, yeah, why are you? And because then that's the thing too, that's like the audience doesn't know.
Right.
So the audience is going to like, did he pick that song?
Right.
Or and I'm like, yeah, no, it's a DJ. I have
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
to do with this. It's like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like, so yeah. So I think I remember having something like that where I was like, it's not me. I don't know why they put that song at all. Sorry, you know, whatever, you know.
How often do you switch up your walk-up song? Is it just if you're on the road for a
Yeah,
while?
it depends. It literally depends of like what the mood is or whatever it is. Also, what type of show I'm doing.
Okay.
You know, I feel like, let's say I'm headlining, like I'm gonna do a show, for example, in Miami. You know, in March, and then like if I'm headlining, you know, I'll do because I know the audience is gonna be more Latino percentage-wise.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but more mostly. I'll put a little more Latino songs in it.
Okay.
If I'm doing a show in, you know, in Nebraska, you know, and I see like it's 90% probably much more like, you know, white conservative people, I'll do a different song.
Yeah, not playing Bad Bunny.
Not playing Bad Bunny, but some song that's like that I still like, but it's not gonna be that, just so. And I'm doing that just to kind of like, because I feel it's like doing bits. It's like for us, it's like as comics, it's like just because it's my show, I still gotta figure out the crowd and get the crowd going and whatever, so it's like, I'm not going to start with this bit.
Right.
So it's like starting with a dirty bit right away.
Yeah.
So they're like already like turn off or something or whatever. So it's like, you give them a little something and then then they get to know you and then you go like, okay, cool.
How are comedy and music the same? Do you feel like they're the same or similar?
Yeah, they're very similar because I think they do bring a connection to people. Like people, especially when you get those bits that people really connect with, that you go like, they come after the show and they're like, oh man,
it's like a free bird.
Exactly. Like my wife does that, or I do that, or I saw that, so that connection, I think definitely songs have more connection, life, in life with people.
Right.
It's a deeper connection, a more sentimental, like, as we know, you hear those songs like, oh man, I remember when I was at this place, or especially if you went through like a romantic thing or something. So yeah, so I think, but in terms of that, I think the connection, the only thing that, the difference obviously is like, with, as we know, like people come to see concerts and they want to see the new stuff. They also want to hear the old stuff, with comedy. They're like, no, give us always the new stuff.
Yeah.
Because comedy is a surprise thing.
Right.
With music, it's like you want to hear what you were expecting.
Right.
It's like, I came to eat pizza. I want pizza.
Yeah.
But, and I want this type of pizza that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
With comedy, it's like, I'm coming to eat pizza, but I don't know what pizza you're gonna give me.
You know what? I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, so it's like you're still looking to eat pizza, but then it's like, this is a great pizza. I never thought this pizza would come along.
Do I want veggie or do I want?
Yes, but it is still pizza.
Right.
To me, it's when you come see comedy and they give you this, Greek food, and you're like, what? Okay, it's good, but I wasn't expecting that. Because with comedy, same as music, you have to be in the mood, but especially with comedy.
Yeah.
I think with music, you can still go to a concert or a festival and be like, there's concerts that I go that I'm like, this is like, I'm the fan, I want to, you're pumped.
Right.
And there's other ones like, hey, if you invite me to something, it's like, I'll go. It's like, yeah, cool, I'll go. And then you can still get in the mood in that festival, because it's kind of like, whatever. But with comedy, I feel like you got to be like in the mood to laugh or in the mood to think or in the mood to eat the pizza, if you want to call that. Yeah.
That's a great point, man. Like, I went to see a Clapton concert a little while ago, Eric Clapton at the Bowl.
Yeah.
And I wound up like fucking tweeting about this for days. I was like, everybody waited for Layla.
Yeah.
And he didn't play Layla.
Well, it's like Oasis where they don't want to play, which now they will, right?
Yeah.
For the new.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it's different for comedy.
Yeah.
For some people.
And some people, look, to me, it's like great. Sometimes some people people go like, oh, you didn't do this.
Yeah.
Which is like awesome because like the fact that they even remember that's great. And like, I think, I think if people, I don't mind with like, I've done some shows where people go like, I go like, hey, if you want to listen to a bit that I did or because somebody told me before, it's like, hey, this person told me if I can do this bit, so I'm going to do it at the end.
Yeah.
So then I do that.
Right.
But if people ask for it, yeah. But if not, then yeah, they're not, but you're not waiting. It's like you said, with music, you are waiting. You are waiting for that thing. And if you don't get that, you go like, what the fuck? Like, I wanted to, that's why I came.
Yeah.
Especially if you get a lot of, there's the hardcore fans and there's the regular fans.
Right.
That know like the main songs.
Yeah.
And there's the other ones who are like, yeah, he did that,
I know the B-sides.
The B-sides, like, which is great, but that's like, but most people, especially the bigger the venue, the more, a lot of people are like, no, give me the Layla song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You ever seen Brian Regan live?
Yes.
People will yell out bits at the end of his show.
Yeah, no, which is awesome. And to me, look, once you get to that stage where you got like already like hits, if you want to call it, then I think that's great. I think that's great because people are like, hey, come, like you give them the new stuff. And I'm like, hey, give me the old stuff. Especially people that a lot of people bring comedy and they're like, hey, I want you to hear him do this bit. Like they know the bit, but you never heard it. So that's why people, so that's why they want like, hey, do that bit that I've been telling people about. That's really good, so.
I feel like as a musician and a comedian, I feel like God, there got to be nights where Guns N' Roses is like, if I fucking play Sweet Child of Mine one more time.
That's the thing about comedy that I like. And with music, I don't know how I would approach it because, I'm always constantly writing, always trying new stuff.
Yeah. Can you get bored of your own stuff?
I mean, like at the end of the day, it's like you're like, it also just loses. With comedy, I feel like for me, it's a time, it's the life that I'm going through at the moment. Right. So like, there's a bit that I used to do a while back about focus or something or the word beach or pronunciation stuff like that, which I'm like, I can't do that right anymore because I don't like that's not where I am anymore. Right. Like, that's different. I evolved from that. Right. So it's even weird for me to do that. And also, like why the fact that if you're still doing those bits that you did like 5-7 years ago, it's like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Like those vaudeville guys back in the day who like made an entire 40-year career doing the same bits.
Thing. And like, and again, I don't. Again, if somebody pays me a lot and they're like, hey, you want to do this? Great, but like. I don't know. But I don't know how musicians do get because they do have to play those songs all the time. Right. So to kind of get like inspired to do it, especially to play it, inspired. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And some comics are really good at that. Some comics are really good at doing the same bits and they do it like doing it for the first time. And to me, that's also a skill. Yeah. It's a great skill to have. And that's how we should do for every bits. But I think
you should give every audience the same
thing. Doesn't matter what. But I do believe, for me at least, it's like with comedy, it's like constant evolving. And I feel like you can't just be doing the fun part. For me, it's also doing new bit. Right. Then I get inspired. I'm like, I can't wait to do this new bit.
You know what I think is different and interesting about like seeing a band live. Yeah. And versus like listening to the record. Yes. Like as a guitarist, when I hear, I love guitar solos and I think Richie Sambora said it the best, like that you can sing along to the guitar solo.
Like you're like,
everybody knows that's Living on a Prayer.
That's good.
But when you see them live and he plays it a little different.
It's fun.
It's fun.
That's cool. And I love that too. I love when I go to concerts and they give you something else that you haven't seen, which is what I try to do with my shows. Right. Like when you come to see me live, you might see something online or whatever, but like, or even if you saw me before, if you come see me again, it's going to be a completely different show. Right. Not just material wise, but also just what happened because I interact with the crowd. I do things. So it's like that riffing, thing, that riffing, energy, the energy is the improv. And that's what you were saying. It's like, and I love, like I went to see Red Hot Chili Peppers, one of my favorite bands, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, or like when they forget what was and he wasn't when John Frusciante was in there. Okay, like he was still he wasn't there, but like, and he was great, but it was very like, I remember like when I'm with my buddy, we're very clinical, like they were just finishing the song and starting, like nothing, and I'm like,
there's no interaction.
There's no interaction, like what's up, Then I went to see them last year, the new at here in LA. Now with John Frusciante, I'm like, it was a completely different vibe, man. Like you could tell they were him and Flea vibe with each other, and then Anthony Kiedis was just going like saying hi LA, and it was just a different. It was so much a better concert, and because of that, of that energy that you don't. That's what you want to see in a concert.
Yeah, going back to Clapton again, it was like watching a glorified rehearsal. Yes. Like he came out, he said hello, and then they played. There was nothing in between. There's no riffing, there's no talking to the audience. It was just, we're gonna play.
No, this is a corporate.
Yes.
That's
God, yes.
That's a corporate as a stand-up.
Yes.
It's like, well, I'm here to get paid. Right. And to me, and especially like that's the thing. If it's a corporate, I don't mind you do that. Right. If Eric Clapton got hired by I don't know IBM to do something great, but if it's a concert, you gotta give the people like. Yeah. I feel bad, if people pay to come see me. Right. Drove, park, they have to pay, the drinks at the club, hire a babysitter. and you're not gonna give them the best version of yourself,
Right.
then I don't like that. Yeah, I don't. And that to me, that doesn't matter who you are, comedy or musician. It's like I respect the musicians or the comedians that give the people the money's worth, and you see it.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. We all know.
Right.
Like if you felt that, everybody in the whole concert felt that.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? It's just going, like you said, a rehearsal. So
Yeah. There was and I have to look up who actually said it. I keep attributing this to Dave Grohl, but I think Grohl said, comedians want to be musicians and musicians want to be comedians.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
I agree to a certain yeah. I mean, I think. Well, I always say this. I always say like, because I love singing, but I have a horrible voice, and I know, and it's like it doesn't matter how much I could take classes and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like you gotta have the natural talent.
Right.
To me, it's like sports, same way. It's like if you're not naturally talented, it doesn't matter how many lessons you take. You're gonna be good, but you're gonna be a professional. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but I would say if I had a voice, like a really good voice, I don't know, maybe I would love to sing. You know, I like that, especially the performance of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I do agree with that. I think I do.
Right.
But it's funny because some musicians want to be comics. They want to laugh.
I mean, I used to do this joke, and I would reference that quote where, Grohl said musicians want to be rock stars want to be comedians, comedians want to be musicians. Yeah. And the joke was, that's weird because I don't think that anytime Dave Grohl was in the back of a tour bus doing a three-way, he was like, I wish I could make these bitches laugh.
Exactly.
Like that's...
And also it's like, it's so funny because it's like, as a musician, it's so much easier just to do that, just to even get laid at the you gotta just play your songs and that's it, and be like, hey, and just be like, what's up, like with us, it's like you might do something, people be like, I don't know, okay,
fuck this guy.
I don't know, it's like whatever, so it's like I think maybe that's why comics do like that, because of like that star factor, that you get, because we get it as comics. Right. I would say like, if you do a great show, you got like 10, 15 minutes of that star factor of like a musician.
You're on stage.
Yeah, you like
the spotlight is on you.
People are like, whew. But that goes away after 50 minutes if you're not like a popular. But with rock stars, that shit lingers.
Yeah,
that stays forever.
Yeah.
Like especially if you're like because also it's like the whole how some musicians are like, they're very like kind of like wounded and it's like I'm like suffering,
the tortured poets,
and like all that stuff is like, which comedians, we're always like riffing and fucking around, so it doesn't,
but that's to hide us being broken.
Exactly. No, we're hiding that. But I'm talking about for like somebody, for the fans, they're gonna go more to for the wounded person, because it's like, oh, he's doing fine, or it's like, well, whatever, it's like, no. I don't need to fuck him,
But and I think the thing is, we get that rock star glow for the 15 or 20 minutes we're up there.
Yeah.
But at the end of a concert, the musicians sneak out the back and they get on a tour bus and they fuck off. Yeah. Where
we want to be like,
we go to the bar and sit there and start doing shots, and like, we're attainable.
Yes.
It's like Jenna Jameson versus Jenna Hayes. Both porn stars, but Jenna Hayes you feel like you could get.
Yeah. And I think, well, it also depends too, like...
That's an old porn star reference, so...
Yeah, I don't even know which... I know Jenna Jameson, but I don't know the other
Exactly. Jenna Hayes was like this cute little brunette about the same time, and like it was... And I only know this because I watched a lot of porn.
Yeah.
No, I used to work at strip clubs, but...
really?
Not that helps.
Were you this DJ?
I was a DJ.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was a DJ at strip clubs for a long time. And Jenna Hayes was like... So you have Jenna Jameson, who was a...
So she was there?
Blonde bombshell. Well, no, they were like contemporaries.
But they started at that strip club?
No. I'm just saying, when I worked at a strip club, I had to do a lot of research.
Why?
That's what I told my girlfriend.
Okay.
I have to research these dancers.
Got it.
But no, they were contemporaries. So you have like Jenna Jameson, who was like the blonde bombshell.
Yeah.
Like big boobs, all of that. Then you had Jenna Hayes, who was like this cute little brunette who had like a squeaky little voice. Nice little body, but she wasn't like she wasn't a porn superstar.
Yeah.
And there was like, people would make that comparison of like, you have the two Jennas,
Got it.
and one of them you feel like you could get.
Yes.
So comedians, we're the Jenna
That is
Hayes
true.
of.
And I think that's why people come up to you after shows and just like sometimes they're like, hey, you want to come party with me? I'm like, no, I don't know you. Like,
Right.
I mean, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
sorry. Thank you. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. Like,
No
but
one
it's-
ever does that to
because
me. No
yeah, but nobody's gonna go to somebody like
They don't go to Jagger.
To Jagger. Hey, you want to come? They're like, like get the fuck out.
What if someone
Yeah.
went up to Mick Jagger and was like, "Hey, do you want to come party?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do." And then they just wind up back in
that-
like
it
a
might
fucking Applebee's or something.
It might happen, but hey. But also, I think it happens too with like, obviously, the bigger or the you get even as a comedian too, like where you can't even say stay out after the show, whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of people or whatever. Then it's like, which because for me, I always like to stay after the shows to say hi, whatever, because to me that's again. I think it's part of a job to be like attainable and be like, just even say hi, thank you for coming. And also for people know like, oh, they saw you on stage, but now they're like, oh, this guy's cool. It's like down to earth or chill, This also helps for people to come back to the show too. Well,
I always get nervous too after a show because I feel like I'm a phony. Like you get up on stage. I'm generally a very quiet. Like I don't
but
go
that's
out.
comics. That's me
Right.
too. Like I think people always ask me like, like that's weird because they see you on stage and then you're like chill.
Yeah.
And they're like, but to me that's a lot of comics are like that.
Right.
Most comics are like that. I feel like they're very chill and then they go because that's our way to release our, our true personality or whatever is on stage, and then we're just like, and also I feel like you can't be on all the time. It's like I like talking to comics that are just normal people when we're talking.
Right.
You don't have to be joking all the time.
Yeah.
Proving.
That's exhausting.
And that's what I'm saying. You can't. So it's even just to be a good comedian, it's like playing like being an athlete and playing all the time fucking hard. It's like you're playing like Game 7.
Yeah.
It's like no, like you gotta practice, but you can't just be all the time like
Or
intense.
you're on Madden.
Yeah,
Like on
it's just
fucking PlayStation and just
no.
like going nuts.
So, but what do you say you get afterwards?
I did a spot last night where after my set, and I was like, it was fine. My set was fine. It was not mind blowing. I just tried some new stuff, and then I went to the bar to say goodbye to the bartender.
Oh, the bartender.
And the booker. But like I stood there, and there was a group of people like talking about the show. I overheard Tran was my favorite,
Nice.
and I just went like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, I mean that happened to me too, growing up. I mean, or being like, but I don't know if that's a comedian thing or kind of like us being minorities that we have this thing that we're like, for me, I grew up with like don't make too much fuss about everything. Don't draw attention to yourself.
Right.
So like that's what my mom used to tell me. So like. And I've gotten I have to change that whole thing to because that's my natural reaction to be like, eh. But now I go like, no, no, take it. If somebody's giving you a good compliment, say thank you. And that's it. You don't need to, you don't need to defend it. Just be like, great, thank you.
Okay.
That's it. But but it's a thing that and again, for me, I'm that way too. Sometimes I'm like, and I'm like, no. And then you have to learn to be like, no. If people give me a compliment, it's great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But also in my head, I kind of felt like they were saying that just to make me feel better because I was standing there. Because I was like, you know how we are after sets, unless we kill, we're like, but I don't want to be here.
Yeah, but again, I feel like nobody says anything just to say it. I mean, unless they're trying to sell you something or trying. So it's like I always feel like if people tell you that you like that you're good, it's because they like. And if they don't, most people are not gonna say anything.
Right.
They that's which is great too. Like you don't have the worst is when people they're telling you like, hey, they start giving. I didn't like that, and like I don't. Okay, fine if you didn't like it, but you don't need to tell me or like give me ways to get it better because you're not a comic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If Bill Burr tells me, hey man, you gotta do this and this, I'm gonna listen.
Yeah.
But if you you don't know, like it's like I'm a musician. I'm not gonna go to any musician and be like, hey man, we should have played this way.
Right.
I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I hate it when people come up to me and they're like, "You were my favorite," as another comedian that was on the show is standing. I'm like, "Don't."
Yeah, that's
do
always,
that.
That's the running joke. It's like, oh, and you too, because they don't know.
Yeah. So we're about the same demographic. Did you go to a lot of concerts growing up?
Yes, I mean, I did like some festivals and some raves, some concerts here and there, you know. So it's like, so yeah, I've been a mix of everything, kind of like a little bit of a, you know, a lot of like, you know, music festivals, which I like because you get to see, you can spend the whole day and kind of
Right.
and chill with your friends and then watch this and then go, you know. So yeah, but yeah, growing up, I did all that.
Did you ever wait in line for concert tickets? Was that a thing that you did?
No, I don't like. Yeah, the whole no. I did. I never did that. I mean, I do remember getting like, but it wasn't. It was like online,
It was like on the internet,
like on
online?
the internet, like
Okay.
waiting or like buying like the new things on. You know, like
Right.
buying like trying to buy the tickets when they came out, kind of
Okay.
stuff like that. But it wasn't like the actual.
So you didn't do the
physical.
experience of like sleeping out overnight
No,
on the street.
no,
Would
no,
you?
no.
Would you ever do that?
I don't.
If the world that we live in does not exist and we don't have smartphones and we don't have
Yeah.
online,
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I would for a certain band or something like that. I don't. I just. Yeah. I guess. Especially now, I don't know if I would do it. I think younger, for sure. It's like remember even going to the clubs and stuff like that. Like I remember I would stay in line for like an hour just to get in. But when I was going,
Like
you know,
comedy
I was
clubs?
no, like clubs, like
nightclubs.
nightclubs. Like, but I was like in college or something like that.
right.
Which I wouldn't do that again now. You know what I mean? Like I'm like fuck that. Like
We're
every time
adults.
yeah, like I'm not gonna wait in line. So that's my thing. I think back when I was younger, maybe I would do it. Now, like if I have to wait, you know, in line just to buy a ticket to see it, I mean, like
Right.
I don't know if I want to do that. You know what I mean?
What band would you wait in line for if you had to?
Yeah, I mean,
Chili Peppers?
Yeah, Chili Peppers, definitely one of my favorite bands. If I think if Sublime was still alive, you know, like original Sublime,
Right.
that would do that. There's yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have any. I mean, again, I watch The Killers. The Killers are really cool. I don't know if I would wait. I mean, I would wait a little bit. And that's the thing too. How long does it wait?
Right.
Like if I'm sleeping, I'm like, no.
Right.
I even do. Remember when they would do like, well, I did it only once for a comedy. When they would do stand up for diversity. Remember that?
Yeah,
thing?
the NBC Stand Up for
Yeah,
Diversity.
and they went in San Diego.
Yep.
Like, so I slept that night.
But that's different. That's for a career opportunity.
Yeah. But even then, I was like, ugh, I don't know if I could do this again. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so like, yeah. So I don't know if I could do that just to watch a show or an event. I'm like, I don't. I'm not that. Again, there's fans. There's fans that are like that's their thing. You know,
Yeah.
like I love the music, but I'm like that's not my whole life.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Have you ever opened for a band?
No, you know what? No, that's the thing that because I know a lot of comics do that. You know, like Dean Del Rey, for example, does that and stuff like that. But no, I never done that. Have you?
I have.
How does because my thing is again going back to what I was saying earlier. People have to be in a mood, and I think it's like music. To me, music, even though this podcast is music and comedy, I think doing music and comedy on the same show, it's hard because
Yeah.
it's two different. Again, if I want to go to a concert, I don't want to see comedy. I don't care whoever it is.
Right.
Could be the biggest, Chappelle. I'm like, I don't want to. Oh, man, I want to listen to this. So it's like, or if I want to go see comedy, yeah, I don't want to. It's a different mood. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I
So-
don't know how does that.
That being said, how do you feel about musical comics? Because
I don't mind them. I think it's like, look, I feel like to me, it's like anything, just stand up in general, anything. It's like, as long as it's original and not hacky, I'm okay with it.
okay,
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
because if you're using your guitar or anything just to kind of like
as a prop,
as a prop or just to kind of like do something just to be different, but you're
Right.
really not doing anything different
Right.
or original or whatever, then I'm like, okay. But if you're like, if you could tell like that you put really thought into this song, you know what I
Right.
mean? For example, before I got into comedy, I really loved, and that was my favorite shows. It's Flight of the Conchords.
Yes.
And I went to see them in concert.
Right.
In actually here in LA.
Okay.
Like, because what I love about them is that they were funny, but they're also musical. They had good, and the music was good. It was like good music that was funny.
Right.
You know, and that's the thing. I don't like when it's like, oh, you're just trying to be funny and then just adding music to it.
Right.
Like, if you make the music good and then it's actually funny, to me, it's like, that's great. To me, that's like what I see. Like, I respect the talent because there's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not just some bullshit, whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's not background noise.
Exactly. It's like, oh man, like again, Flight of the Conchords. I mean, I remember like they had this what was the song? It's like business time. It's business time. And they had that, and it was like, it was great. It was like a good rhythm, and it was funny too. You know, so like that, I 100% love.
Okay, so if you see a guitar comic get on stage,
I don't mind that. It's like, again, it's more like. Are you gonna be original, or are you just gonna do, you know?
Is it a parry?
Or are you just gonna, again, not doing it, or just do a little play one thing to kind of just to have something, you know?
Right.
So my thing is not, but that's the same thing as a comic without no guitar and be like, oh, you're just doing hacky jokes.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's, so I don't, for example, there's another comic that I saw last time I did a show, and on the show there was it was, you know, Luke Knoll.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
So,
Luke, I had Luke on my my guitar show.
Yeah. So he was, and I was watching, and I was really impressed and enjoying his thing because he did basically like a whole set of just one song, but like riffing and then going back and so on and doing, but you could tell there's a skill and there's like
He's a musician.
A thought behind it. It was like a whole, it's not, and that's the thing. People can tell when it's like bullshit or not.
Right.
And that's with comedy, that's with acting,
Yeah.
that's with music, you know, whatever it is. Even if it's same thing, a magician, you know, you could do comedy magician, but if you're like a interesting, funny magician that draws comedy instead of people are like, oh, I like that shit. But if you're doing the same stuff that's kind of like haggy, whatever, we're like, you know.
All right, you get 2 comedy albums. You're on a desert island. We're gonna do this fucking tired trope.
All right.
2 albums, 1 comedy, 1 music. What albums are they?
Okay, music for sure is gonna be Californication.
Okay.
Yes, I remember that thing kind of, I don't say changed my life, but I remember even hearing when I played that thing back in Maryland, even doing weights in the basement of my house, just listen. That really kind of, and the whole song. I mean, I know pretty much all those songs in that album, so yeah, that one for sure.
Is that an album you can listen to every track?
Yeah,
and
pretty
it's
much
just like through the album.
Yeah,
You're not
pretty
skipping
much.
anything.
Yeah. Okay. And I know a lot of the songs too. Like,
Right.
So I love. So yeah, that one for sure. Comedy album. I guess. I mean, it's funny because like with comedy album, it's not, again, with comedy, it's a thing that I can just listen to it once. I'm not gonna listen to it again. But I guess for me, it's either between Killing Me Softly or with the Dave Chappelle. That one. Yeah, that one, and then just one that for, I don't know what the name is, but when Jerry Seinfeld came out with like pretty much after the show ended,
right.
And he did like a concert or like a thing, and and
the special I remember.
The special, remember, yeah.
It was like a long. Was it the one with the long protracted intro of like him talking to his friends and like writing down jokes? Is it that one?
I don't remember. I remember maybe the one bit was like the hair on the soap kind of thing or something. But I mean, obviously he always wears a tie. But yeah, but it was like maybe 2-3 years after the show ended. So it was like, which is when I got into comedy. And those 2 ones, because it's where like when I started thinking or learning about comedy in general, those albums or those specials that I saw were the first ones that kind of like, that got me in the whole like, oh, because before that I loved making people laugh and I like watching movies and comedy shows, like, but I never knew what stand-up was.
Okay.
So when I first started thinking about doing it, I did improv classes and then I started, so those are the first 2 albums that I was like, oh, okay, this is what stand-up is.
Okay.
This is what it is. So it kind of like, they had an impact on me.
What was your first stand-up show?
My first stand-up show was, I did.
That you went to see.
Oh, that I went to see.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny because like I don't remember. I actually think my first stand-up shows that I don't think I even went to see one show as a concert, because I started doing comedy before, and then I started working on the Comedy Store right away. So then I had like watching shows all the time. So then that, to me, that was, but I don't, again, because I pretty much thought about doing stand-up, moved to LA, and then just went right into it.
Okay.
So but I wasn't like a fan of it before, or I knew about it before.
Right.
So I never even went to stand-up clubs
Okay.
or anything like that. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right.
So like, and then when I started working at the Comedy Store, then I had it every day when I was working there. So to me, that was like, then I was like, well, I'm not gonna go. I mean, it's not. Plus, I was like watching it from. The thing is, like, I started doing comedy by like from behind the curtain. You know what I mean? Like I never.
Okay.
Like The Wizard of Oz, like, but like right as soon as I started knowing the behind scenes instead of the
Right.
like being a. Which is different from acting. With acting, I was like watching it from the afar, and then that's why I think it took me longer to kind of like get this. With stand-up, I was always being like, I'm just part of it.
Right.
With acting, or it's more like, oh my God, like you put a little, it's more pedestal. You put it more like that, because I saw it from the other. Like, and again, I didn't see stand-up from that. I just saw it right away. From all right, this
You're
is what I'm
already
doing.
in that mix.
Exactly.
So you didn't have, the sheen wasn't there.
Exactly.
You saw how the sausage was made
100%.
before you ate it.
Since the big, exactly. That's the best way to put it. Yeah.
What was your first music concert? Do you remember?
I think I have to say again, it's this. I feel like it was this festival that I went in Venezuela. It was like a music festival, like a Coachella thing, and it had a lot of bands, you know. And I remember, I mean, one of the bands. I mean, they were mostly Latino bands, and they had like one of the biggest ones that was playing there was this band, Argentinian band called Los Pericos, which is like a reggae kind of like style band, you know. And like, so I remember that was the one that I went, because it was funny because it was like with my sister and her friends and my friends. And the funny part about that, my I think it was like, maybe I was 14 or 15 or something like that, and then, or 15 or 16, and then my friend's mom, he's like, hey, all right, he's gonna go with you, but please don't let anything happen to him. I mean, we're the same age, but he's like, don't lose him or whatever.
He was the responsible one?
No, I don't know why. I mean, she just said it like a mom says or something, you know. And then obviously we're in the concert. It was a whole day thing, and like all of a sudden we're like one thing, and then he's gone, and I'm going like, and there's no cell phones, or I think there was. Yeah, at that point we didn't have any cell phones, or there was like just one cell phone, you know. But we're like, what the fuck? And then the whole day I was like, man, when am I gonna tell the mom? You know, like I lost his son. You know, I'm like, and she told me, don't lose it. And I'm like, oh fuck.
I specifically said,
don't lose it. You know. And then remember, we're like towards the end, like it's almost getting dark, and we're like just sitting in a place, in the field. We're just sitting there, and like, so I'm like. And then I turn around, and my friend's just next to me eating fucking barbecue, and I'm like, "What the fuck, bro? Where are you? Where were you?" It was like, "Oh," it was like, and then
I went to get some food.
So it was like a movie thing, because then we're like, "Where you not?" And then we finished the concert like in a high note.
Oh wow,
you know what I mean? So, but like, it was like, bah, 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 you know.
Oh yeah, that's very cool. There's a whole arc to that concert.
Yeah.
All right, we'll wrap up with this. Backstreet Boys aside, what is your other go-to karaoke, or do you have a list of them?
Yeah. Sublime.
Okay.
Santeria, that's one. And I do this, the ones where because I do things where I'm like, okay, which is the best one I can sing where I don't sound like crap.
Okay.
And also, which are ones that that people are gonna know as well. I'm gonna sing along, because I don't know. I don't like when people go like do karaoke and they play these songs that like nobody's heard, and then I'm like, okay, great.
The B-sides.
Yeah, and then you're like, all right, next.
You got to sit there and
you
watch
gotta sit
this
there
person.
for 3 minutes, like, because at this point they're going like, well, this is for you.
Yeah.
I feel karaoke is more like, hey, we're having fun, joking around, you know, whatever. Like, let's, you know, we're gonna sing together.
It's a community event. Or else you're just singing in the shower.
Exactly. If not, then just hire a studio and you do it yourself. You know what I mean? But like, if the people are in it and know about Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'll do any Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Yeah.
or, you know. But like again, that's a very. It's also because it's also not up. Sometimes
Yeah.
they're very like low, you
Yeah.
know. So
So what makes a good karaoke song?
I think it's like, to me, energy, and that people know about it, and then that you can actually sing it well.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about like even having a great voice, but like you can give the good performance.
Yeah.
There you go.
You
like,
know the words.
You know the words. You know the beat. And what you were saying about riffing, you can riff.
Yeah.
You know, you can joke about it and then come back. You know, but
Yeah.
like I think to me that's what I try to do when I do karaoke. Just like, especially, you know, for my birthday we did a karaoke thing. You know, and also I like karaoke when it's like with people that I know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like doing karaoke like here in LA where like everybody like.
People are showing
They want to
off.
show off, and I'm like, all right.
All right, we get it. You were on America's Got Talent.
Exactly.
Fine, I got it.
In front of people that I don't know, because to me, so like, but yeah, I feel like those things are the ones that I that should have in a karaoke song, because pick songs that people like, that you like, but that also like, hey, and again, that's why stand up to me is like very similar, because it's like the bits that I do is bits that I like, but I know that most people are gonna like.
Right.
If not, then it's like people are not gonna laugh.
Yeah.
You can do this bit, but it's like, all right, fuck it, like
Right.
you gotta find the balance. I feel.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you for coming over. This was fun.
Yeah, man, this is awesome, man. I love talking. It's funny. It's like I didn't realize how before this how much into music and and comedy is together, and like
Right.
all this things that I didn't like realize. I was like, oh yeah, I do that and I do that, and
because
like,
they're both art forms.
Exactly.
There's and writing jokes and writing music as a comedian and a musician, like you put your heart and your soul
Yes. Yeah.
into this thing.
Yeah.
That for comics, we get on stage, we're like, hey, here's some thoughts in my head.
Yeah.
That I think you should laugh at.
Yeah.
Whereas musicians, it could be, hey, here's this banger of a song I want you to fucking throw your hands up to,
yeah.
or this, I want to break your heart with this.
That's true. But also, that's one thing too. That's speaking about the difference. I mean, I know, and one of the biggest difference of comedy and music, and besides the material or whatever, it's just that with music, I don't know, you probably know this more better, but you don't need the audience necessarily.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like with
could
comedy, it's like you have to. Like
Yeah.
if it's not there, obviously you can do a show. But if you're not, doesn't matter how, and that's why I tell, especially people that are starting comedy, it's like, doesn't matter how great you write something, because if you don't know how to perform or deliver it, they're not gonna laugh.
Yeah.
Because that's what. But with music, you can just sit there and close your eyes and sing, and then if people are, you don't need this.
Yeah.
The obviously it helps you.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't really need it, right?
How many of those videos have you seen online of like just a guy or a girl with an acoustic guitar on a street corner?
Yeah.
They're playing by themselves and people come up.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh, what is this? There's
With
this one.
stand-up, people start walking away.
They're like, who is this maniac?
Because also
talking?
we have to be like, hey, come here. It's like, it's like active to react. What
Yes.
is that word? How does
Active
it-
or reactive.
Active, reactive. Like
Yeah.
musicians are more like you like if you're like in a fucking corner hitting and just be like,
Yeah.
people go like, hey.
If it's good, they're like,
If it's
oh
good,
my God.
But your comedy, you can't be like, hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, just want to say, nah, it doesn't matter. What's up? Yeah. All right. You guys, where are you guys from?
Like the guitarists, they throw money in their guitar case.
Yeah.
Comedians, they're like whipping it at their face. They're like, stop, just stop this, whatever you're doing.
That's funny.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming
Thank you for
over.
having me,
Where can
man.
people find you on the internet? And do you have any big tours or shows coming up?
Yeah, I do have shows. First you can find me, Google Francisco Ramos Comedy, and you'll find all the social media. But the main ones that I use is it's Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. It's all at F Ramos Comedy, and then for shows I have coming up, I have DC in February 16th, Union Stage, which is like more of a musician venue, but they also do comedy, so it'll be interesting how that goes. I'm doing that, and then March in Miami, I'm doing March 14th and 15th, Dallas March 21, 22, and then Batavia, Illinois, March 29th to 30th.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, this has been Comedy on 11. We turned it all the way up, and it was super fun. So thanks for listening. And remember to crank up that dial. I'm working on the ending. I don't really know what I'm saying.